welcome to the Devon Corner, where we discuss everything Devon cattle. There's nothing off limits. The most versatile breed on the planet. And talking today to Dallon Hudson from Youree Farms, who's been in Devon cattle just a short time. And I'll let him welcome Dallon. And as always, welcome Steve. And I'll turn it to Steve. Start us with a short blessing this morning, and then we'll get into Dallon, who you are, and why Devon cattle, and all those good things. So, Steve, if you would.
Absolutely. Father, thank you for the morning. Again, thank you for Dallon, and look forward to hearing his story. And thank you for Devon cattle and the story you've written in all of our lives through them. Different animals, different lines, different people we've connected with along the way. Thank you for bringing those things together today and the opportunity to hear more of that. Teach us to see these animals differently and one another differently, that we would grow and further become better stewards of these animals and of the community that we're connected with, the communities that we live in. Thank you again for today. Thanks for this conversation. We look forward to it. Thanks for friendship and for education and learning, and that just doesn't stop. It keeps opening new worlds for us. You're good, and we just want to acknowledge that and are thankful for that. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
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 Thank you, brother.
Mhm.
Well, Dallon, you can do a much better job than I. Tell us, about yourself and Youree Farms and your journey in ag to get to this point.
So Youree Farms, it's on my mom's side of the family. It's been in our family. The farm itself is over 600, a little less than 700 acres. It's about 40 minutes south east of Nashville, in a little area called Bradyville, south of Woodbury. And it was ever since I moved back from college, I've been kind of the person taking care of it. And so I've learned the history, and I've really dove into, just being a steward of the land. And it used to be a cattle farm for my grandfather and great grandfather. They ran about 400 head of Hereford. And then it's been in crop rotation ever since, probably since the last 25 years. And a couple years ago, my father-in-law passed away from cancer. And so my wife got really deep into what's in our food. And so I told her, I was sick of bush hogging anyways. And so I told her, let's put some cows out. And that was last summer. And I reached out to a couple people that I knew that were doing grass-fed, grass-finished. And everybody kept pointing back to Lakota and Red Devon. The people that I had reached out to that I knew were in the business. One of them was the owner of Summertown Farms in North Carolina, and a couple other people. And so I reached out to Jeremy, and it was pretty quick. I mean, I think we bought, seven total, or 6 cows and 1 bull. And that's where it started. And now 10 months later, we're at 52 head. And so I kind of jumped in, and Jeremy, it was funny. Jeremy said, well, when you're ready, call me and we'll send down like 40 heifers or something. I said, I ain't never going to have that many cows. Well, 10 months later, here we are. And so we have pieced together a bunch of Devons. We have some crossbred, some registered, just kind of a variety. We have 2 Wagyus, just trying to play with some of the genetics, and but mostly everything is at least 50% Devon, and most of it's about 90% Devon. And we love the breed. They're calm, they're easy to maintain. I don't have to worry about them too much. The only time they really got out of their fence was the first day a big group of them came in. They found a little spot, but they walked right back to the gate and were sitting in front of the gate when I pulled up. So it's like they knew where they were supposed to be. And they've just been a easy and fun thing for us to be able to do, and for us to go out to the farm and just kind of share that. And my parents are my business partners on this. So my dad is semi-retired now. He was a chiropractor in town. I'm a real estate developer. I renovate old houses. And so we're able to do this, you know, going out there every other day, just checking on the cows, making sure everybody's good. And with that, we wanted a breed that we could do that with. And that's when we picked the Devon.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And Dallon did get cattle from me, and what really two reasons I kind of reached out to Dallon to do this. Well, more than two, but two primary reasons. And one was the manner in which you've put your herd together. You did get, a group from me, but you've gotten, as you said, you've pieced together cattle from many different breeders from different parts of the country and
Six
different
different,
genetics.
yeah.
Six different. And when I talked to Dallon about it, he had an understanding that most people take a couple years to get to, and that was that he had bought a mixed bag, some good, some bad, some cattle that he didn't even know whether they were good or bad yet, because this one's thin. Well, is she thin because she hadn't been managed properly, or is she thin because something else is going on? And I get a lot of visitors here, and it's always interesting to me. Some people go out. I was telling Dallon yesterday when we prepared for this, I had some people that came internationally all the way here, and we went out and we saw the herd, and they looked at the herd, but they never looked at my cows. They never got into this cow and that cow, lovely folks and a lovely visit, but I love the people that get out there and that you got to drag them out of the field. Hey man, we got
Right.
cows to go look at. Like, come on,
Right.
let's and that's how I am, and I love that. People that want to learn, want to talk, want to observe. Observation, as we've said on this podcast and in many other forums, is so critical to what we're doing, not just with Devon cattle, but in ag. So that on the flip side, and I want to turn it back to Dallon. I see a real advantage to somebody that goes to one breeder. If I go up to Steve and I buy 25 head, I know they all came from the same place. There's a biosecurity advantage to that. I'm only dealing with one guy, and the cattle are going to settle in quicker because they're with their paddock mates. But on the flip side, the way Dallon has done it, now you've networked with half a dozen different breeders. You've got a much broader selection of genetics. And I'm not advocating for one or the other. I think there's advantages and disadvantages to both. But tell us, especially for people that are on the same path you are, that now want to get into Devon cattle and build a herd, and what have you learned visiting so many different people, and what strategies have really worked well for uh, doing your research and picking what you've picked and going
Sure.
away from what you've gone away from.
Sure. Well, what I've realized is there are some people that buy the Devon breed because of all the advantages, a lot of homesteaders. And I've been to farms where it's beautiful and the cows are healthy, and we bought 7 or 8 from them. I've been to other farms where there's not a stitch of grass on there. They're pumping hay to them, and you know the difference in the cows. Um, I guess at the beginning of this, I didn't really know the genetic side of it. I was learning. If you ask my wife, all I do at night when I get home from work or whatever is watching YouTube channel about Devon cattle and looking into like how to judge what the right cow was, because I had no experience in this 10 months ago, or very little. My cousins ran cattle for a living, and that's about the only experience I had. And so I've now I'm more educated with it, but I guess when you're going into it, I know how to bargain in a good deal. And I was kind of looking at it from all right, I'm buying 8 cows. 2 of these are going to turn into steers. The rest of them are heifers. 3 of the heifers aren't great, but these 2 are really, really nice. This one is really, really nice. And if I can get everything averaged out to a good deal, then I think it's worth buying them. And that's the way we did. We've lost a cow already. We've lost two cows. One of them was more he got struck by lightning. And then we had a one heifer that didn't make it. And what I've learned now is, as soon as a new cow comes into your herd, preg check it, but with a blood test, so you know. And if she's too young, figure it out. Because we had one that was 18 months old, and she was way too young. She came from a farm that needed more grass. She didn't have the developmental. Her body just wasn't ready. And we watched her for 30 days when she started showing signs, which I've learned there's different cows show different signs at different times. And we went out of town for 24 hours, and that's when she calved, and we lost her, and the calf. And so, which is unfortunate, but that's just how some people are running their cattle. And so some people are running with a bull that's just in there at all times. And so now I know if there's a bull that's just in somebody's herd at all times, those cows, if they're over 9 or 10 months old, they're probably pregnant. And so I've just kind of been figuring those things out to make my herd better, and to be able to just try to relieve myself from as much stress as possible when it comes to managing the herd. Because right now I'm still I got another 2 months before all of the cows have been on my place for about a year, and they should be on my schedule instead of on other people's schedule. But from a genetic standpoint, yeah, we were just buying anything that was around us that looked pretty good. We passed on a couple. We negotiated with some people, and it didn't work out. But I wanted a mixed breed of genetics to kind of start building our own type of herd, building our own line. And so we've got stuff from Lakota. We've got a lot of King Henry in us. That's when I came to you, we bought the Red Dude bull, because I realized once we started buying these cows, everybody's grandfather was King Henry, every single one of them. And so I had to pull in some different genetic lines. And then we have some Rotakawa, and I don't know, I could go into it, but yeah, I wouldn't say that there was really anything. There was no rhyme or reason 6 months ago for why I was buying Devons, just besides to buy the Devons. And then I've been figuring out now, like, I'm more educated now and I know what I want. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah. Well, and what would you do different? Like, what preparation wise? And again, this is all happening quick, for you, and probably when, 5 years from now, you'll have a totally different perspective, and
Sure.
10 years from now, a totally different perspective, or not totally different, but an evolved perspective. But definitely knowing what the cattle, whether they're bred or not, sometimes you don't get that information. I know a lot of times also, if I don't really know the people and I bought animals from them and they tell me they were vaccinated, well, maybe they were, maybe they won't.
Right.
I'm going to do that again,
I
right?
am too.
And
Yep.
and my herd is completely healthy and TB free. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and check them for
Right.
some different things too, especially before I integrate them into my herd. And I think you'll change that way too as time goes on,
Sure.
right? Right now you're bringing a bunch of stuff in, but when that slows down, it changes things. And I can tell you, since we implemented DNA in the Devon breed, one thing that has caught me multiple times is I do a DNA test, and it's not out of the bull that was out there breeding, it's out of a 7-month-old bull calf that was out there on a cow. And growth and maturity are not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And just because an animal, these Devons are a little smaller framed and they're being grown out on grass, as you say, 7, 8, 9-month-old animals can come into heat and
That's right.
get bred, and bulls can get stuff bred. And a lot of books and stuff you read out there are going to tell you different. But the DNA doesn't lie.
Well,
Uh,
and especially if I can understand some of these cows coming in that were unhealthy, and then we get them caught back up, they get fertile. And we had two of them that were 10 months old that, were preg checked, and they were pregnant, and they were pregnant enough for a vet to feel it. So I mean, they could have been 60 days, 45 to 60 days pregnant. And that was shocking to me, for them to be pregnant at that age. So,
well, and there is, and we don't have to get too deep into it, but in some cases like that, I think the humane thing to do is to hit them with Lutalice and abort
yeah,
that calf.
and we did.
Yeah, and then cycle them back later. And that's certainly not what you want to do as
Right.
a common practice, right? But even if you save that cow, does she get messed up from giving birth, or does she get pulled down too much from trying to raise that calf?
Right.
Um, and the other thing you can do, you can dry lot a cow. We find out a cow's pregnant and going to have a calf. Well, let's not turn her out. As you said, you're on 600 acres with 50 head, so you got the all-you-can-eat buffet.
That's right.
Let's take them off that and put them, and not all of them, but the ones that's bred, and manage it that way. But food for thought.
Well, that brings me, yeah. One thing, depending on what your land is, I've learned rotating them and keeping them locked into a certain amount of grass that you can maintain and keep up with, especially if you're not there every single day. We try to put them on about 5 acres at a time and manage that and change them about weekly, roughly. And so having them within an electric fence with a border fence around it, it's an ease of mind. And it's great for the ground. Our grass is coming out of our ears right now because we have had the wettest spring we've had in 30 years. And but that is something that I would definitely tell people, like, spend the time, put the electric fence up. It's not bad. I know some people don't think it's going to take too long. It takes me 20 minutes to put up a whole entire fence system, and then that'll be good for 3-4 weeks. And then I have to put up another fence system, and I've learned electricity is your friend. Yeah, with these cattle. So,
well, cattle that are used to being in a hot fence don't try to get out.
They don't.
And cattle that are used to getting out are looking to get out.
That's right.
And,
Yep.
and I know when I took over Lakota 25 years ago, we were putting cows back every day. And
Mm-hmm.
and I just got out of the Army, and I remember after 2 weeks going, what are we doing? Like, we're spending so much time and money and ruining our reputation in the neighborhood because we always
Sure.
cows somewhere. And you're right. Getting it hot and good and hot goes a long way. And that's another thing when you bring new cattle in, right? Somebody said, "Oh yeah, they're used to electric fence."
Yeah,
Well,
they're not.
well, what does that mean, right? Does that mean one strand polywire and you can do whatever you want? Because that's
Right.
where we want to get them to, right?
Right.
Um,
And what we've done is just put them we've got a corral next to our barn. We just put them in a corral, put a hot fence around it for a couple days. They figure it out real quick. And then we'll put them in with the rest of them. So
Right.
whenever we get new cows, it doesn't take long. I mean, the calves, I've noticed they get hit one time, they've learned, and because they don't want it anymore. And then, it gets me every now and then, and just so I know it's on. But anyways.
well, I want to shoot a question to Steve. He's been at this sort of in between where I'm at and where you're at, and then I'll hit you with the same question. You talked about you've been doing this 10 months now, and pretty soon these cows are going to be on your schedule. And I would argue that some cows I've seen take up to 18 months to adapt to a new farm, a new environment. I've seen some that just seamlessly go right out and go to work. But Steve, you kind of followed the same path as Dallon just 10, 15 years ago, and amassed your herd from different places. And And you're in the midst right now of moving cattle from, I mean, you're still lamppost, but from location A to the new farm. And what's your experience been on cattle adapting and settling in? And at what point do you go, well, this is just a bad cow. It's not that she's slow settling in. She's just a poor doer. You're on mute
Um,
too. Oh no, you're not.
no, I'm good. I'm back. Yeah. Yeah. That's a great question. And it's something I've been spending a lot of time thinking about because, we've had our cattle here pretty much a closed herd. I mean, every once in a while we'll bring a handful in from you, Jeremy, or a couple steers here or there. But I mean, the calves were born here, the systems, they know it, they know where the gates are, they know the processes of crossing Route 7, which we're on. Um, so to change locations like really throws them into a
Mhm.
like like a head up, what's going on. I mean, when I got my animals first, I got them from Bud Chunko, and he said he came out to see them early on, and he was surprised at how docile they had become, like how mellow. And he started to wonder if it was like he had them in mountain pasture, not mountain, but very hilly pasture in Pennsylvania with a lot of woods and black bears and coyotes to come in here where it was pretty flat, pretty open, so he started to wonder if it wasn't they were at ease now that the context had changed. And so it's such a fascinating study, like what dynamics make cattle, put them on edge. And I mean, I've been doing this now 15 years with Devons, and it's still, I'm learning a ton. So there have been those animals that it doesn't matter. They never settle down. Their head's always up, their ears are always forward. They're like looking to see if I'm going to take a step across that poly wire, they're going the other direction. And I mean,
Right.
ruthless calling in that regard, and even taking some risks, like build enough margin in the herd to be able to say that it's not going to hurt me to butcher this one too, um, and we can always regain. But then it is, in some ways it's just systemic, and it would just take a couple 3 weeks until they're. I mean, heck, some of them just step off the trailer and they're right at home, and it's crazy. It just uh, so yeah, it's something I've thought a lot about, and then integrating herds, like I'm moving it. Combining two different groups is really a question. Like how much, I mean, we all have our boss cows, the ones that are going to push everybody else around. So what happens when you integrate two boss cows? You're going to create chaos that way, or is the pecking order going to come flat pretty quick? Um, and how good are the fences? What happens when they
Yeah.
decide to say it doesn't matter if there's a fence there, we're going to push each other around anyway? Um, yeah, and those are great questions. And it comes back to everything in agriculture. It's all about relationship. And so how do we see those dynamics in real time and then be able to react accordingly? And there's a couple animals in my herd that I would put into any other group right now and not think twice about it. And there's a couple that I'd be questioning every time I'd put them in. And then I'd probably be surprised to see it go the other direction. Um, so I don't know if I answered your question, but the dynamic is definitely one to pay attention to. And yeah,
There's
yeah,
so many pieces to it for sure. And uh, I could go for an hour on just this subject, but Dallon, what have you what's your I mean, again, you're just uh,
Sure.
in the front end of this thing, right? You're not really going to know for sure, for another 6 months or a year, but at this point, how have the cattle coming from six different farms? And you haven't just thrown them together, you've eased them together,
Right.
but it's not
Well,
long before they're all out in the same pasture. And what have you observed?
sure. So whenever we had brought cattle in, we bought a lot this winter. and we did not have all of our fencing done that we needed to just keep moving them like we're doing right now. Because we had to catch up to 1950s fencing and patch. I mean, it was poison ivy for weeks and weeks and weeks. But that's all taken care of now. So now we can rotate them a little more. We had them in certain areas and we had bigger lots. So I'd put them in. There was a 15-acre lot, and we had, we started out with 30 cows. We had our bulls separate, and they were able to kind of, when they first came in, it was fighting and head pushing and all types of stuff. And I just had to let them figure it out. But I will say there are certain cows that if they're smaller, they're just going to go hide in the woods somewhere. I think they get out there and they start looking around and they're like, there ain't no way I'm taking any of these. They'll go hide in the woods. It'll take them longer to integrate. Whereas some of the larger cows that we got, they come in, start pushing around, and then they're right in with the pecking order. And it was like they'd been here the whole entire time, is what I've noticed. And I think it's just a temperament. Like the ones that are a little more bossy jump into the herd a little better. And the other ones, it takes a couple months. And then with some of the calves that were, everybody knows that these calves, when you bring a new calf in, because we found out we got the last group, I think 6 of them were weaned when they came over. And so, they were looking for mama. So we took them out, put them in their own little area with 2 of our other heifers and just let them integrate within that group. And they latched on to those other 2 cows that have been there for 6 months. And so it's just trying to figure out how they're all working together. And once you figure out who's in charge, you can kind of, you'll know kind of who's in charge, who's not in charge. And they'll be grouped up in different areas, but they're all starting it takes about 6 months is what I've learned for a cow to get used to it. If they're a little skittish. But most of them now are all working together and they're fine. But I would say, yeah, the bigger the lot when you're bringing a new one in, the better, because it gives them some space, but then they can also come in whenever you call them and they kind of get to know each other. They'll push around a little bit and then they figure it out.
Observation is key, and it's clear you're paying attention. And I would tell you, I think the easiest cattle to move to adapt to a new place are cow-calf pairs. Because if I send one of you guys 10 cows or 10 heifers, they get off trailer and they're going, who are you? What's this fence? What's that new dog over there? But if I send you cow-calf pairs, they get off trailer and go, where's mama? Where's baby?
That's right.
And I'm good. As long as I got Junior, I don't care about the rest of it. And I think that's a great point. Giving them lots of room is certainly a good idea. Putting them in, obviously, I see a lot of people make silly mistakes. So they'll get a new load of cattle and they'll try to turn them out into a single strand polywire field, and put them in the most secure paddock you got. Anything that you receive from somewhere else, you got to have shade and water, but put them secure and let them settle in. Because if cows break out day 1 or 2, they're trying to go back to Steve's place where they came from, right? But once they've been there a week, if they break out, they want to get back to the herd. They want to, it's become home. Right. And the big disaster you see is when people wean calves and haul them somewhere and they break out. Well, shoot, they're looking for mama. They're looking
Good
for
luck. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they'll literally walk themselves to death and get so overheated. You can have real problems. I tell you another strategy, and we use this on the bull test a lot. But if I've got 40 bulls out there and Steve brings me 2 bulls and I take them and drop them out there, all 40 bulls are after those 2, trying to push them, trying to breed them, trying to rough them up more than the cow herd. But if I take that group of 40 bulls and cut them in half for 2 days, and then when I turn the 2 new ones out, I put the group back together. Well, this 20's not just after those 2, they're after the other 20, and vice versa. So now instead of everybody being after those 2, everybody's after each other.
Sure.
And it seems to calm down quicker. I knew an old guy too that when he would integrate cattle together, he'd spray the mob with vinegar. And the idea being it would take the scent off, everybody would smell the same and they would integrate quicker.
It's interesting.
Um, I had mixed results playing with it, but
And
um,
when we brought the new bull down that we got back in March, I put him in with all the steers because I knew it was going to be a 3-on-1 with my other bulls. We have one that we're about to butcher, and then two other ones that we're letting neighbors use. And I was like, I'm not putting him in there, and because the one we're about to butcher does have horns, and he's gotten a little ornery, and that's why he's getting butchered. But I didn't want him in there because some of those steers that had a couple scrapes and scratches and holes from those horns, and so I separated them out. And he got real accustomed with the steers, and for a while there, when I put him out with the cows, I was kind of worried about him because he was just hanging out with the steers for about 2 days until he got used to the new area, and now he's been working great. So
fantastic, fantastic. Well, tell me what changed things for you. You said it earlier. You told me, hey, Jeremy, I don't get carried away. We're never going to have 40 cows here. We just want a handful. Um, what changed? I mean, the question I usually ask guests is why Devon cattle, right?
sure.
And I wrote a book on it, given a bunch of reasons, and there are obviously a bunch of reasons. But what are the primary reasons that you fell in love with Devon's, and why jump ahead so fast? What changed?
I would say, well, from a business side, it went from us doing meat for ourselves, and then we were told people we bought some cows, and everybody was interested in getting grass-fed beef. So we started just seeing that there was an opportunity for us within our group because I do live in Nashville, but the farm's in Murfreesboro. Just there was an opportunity to sell beef to some of our friends, and then my dad's semi-retired, and he got interested, and he'll never retire, So he wanted to have something to do, so we started buying a couple more, and then it kind of just kept going and going. But I would say, they're just so docile. Like my nephew is 3 years old, and he can ride on the back of one of them. We have this one girl named Loretta. My wife has named all of the mamas, and it's all country music singers just because of Nashville. And he can ride on the back of her, and she does not care. And just I can walk through a group of bulls that we have, or any of the cows, and you don't have to worry about anything. They're calm, they're easy. We can hand feed them little alfalfa cubes. And it, the only thing I've been around are commercial cows, and they're crazy and they're jumping and kicking and trying to kill you. And then, when even my cousin who's owned thousands of cattle, he looked at this and he was like, "You're just going to jump in there with him?" And I was like, "Yeah, he's fine." And they were just kind of shocked at how calm they were. And my neighbors came over and saw how calm they were. Well, now they have one of my bulls, and so he wants to put that into his lines. And so it's just been interesting to see that. And so there's an opportunity to put the Devon breed in Middle Tennessee, where there's not a lot of Devon right now. There really isn't. If there were Devon for sale, we bought them in Middle Tennessee, and it was 2 here, 3 here. And we just saw that there was an opportunity, and even last year we had a drought. Their body condition was great. They were in the woods eating browse and things like that, and they stayed in really good health when all my other neighbors were talking about how much hay they were already feeding in July, August, September. And mine held on just fine. So
Fleshing ability is another huge asset of the breed, but I would say docility is as you've stated is maybe the number one reason that people give for Devon cattle. And yeah, it's amazing to me. If you could only make gourmet beef with wild cattle, it would make sense. But
right.
I've seen people pay 10,000 plus for a bull in a sale because it had a high adjusted yearling weight, and you couldn't have paid me to put the bull on my farm because you're trying to kill a ringman while the sale's going on, and that's not what they're looking at. Same thing with steers, right? Like jumpy, flighty steers in a feedlot with concrete pads and 10-foot steel fences don't matter. But
right.
for us and people doing what we do, rotating with a single strand wire, you can't tolerate any of that. And back to what Steve said, an observation, when you're out with these cows, one crazy one can make the whole group more
Yep.
flighty. Sometimes you pull that one out and the whole group quiets down. And if you have a group of cattle that you bring in, you brought some steers from somebody, they haven't seen a lot of people, and you put one cow out there that'll eat the alfalfa cubes out of your hand, and they see that, they quiet down so much
Mhm.
quicker. And I think people not only observe, but then step back and outthink the cows a little bit, and you can make life easier. Funny story, we had this steer that was flighty years ago, and he was only a 400 pound steer, and he had got hung up in a woven wire fence, so he was three-legged. He was missing his front right leg, and he was jumpy, and he was out with a group of 40 or 50 cows, and you'd go out and he'd take off running, and they'd all follow him as they always do when one
Mhm.
takes off running. But because he was missing a leg, he'd run in a circle and come right back to us. And all the cows would follow him and come back to us, and then they'd stop and look and be like, "What's going on here? What are we doing?" And we'd always laugh, "Why are y'all following this knucklehead?" But yeah, managing the mob and sometimes getting that one goofy one out makes a huge difference. Um, Tell me what back to the question before, you're 10 months into this. If I'm brand new and I'm your cousin and Dallon, man, I love what you've done over there. Um, I want to get some Devon cattle. What advice, would you give them? Not necessarily like where to go or what
Yeah.
genetics, but more, you know,
I, I,
guidance as to approach and philosophy.
sure. I would do the research because, I bought some from somebody that I thought could be registered. Now I'm realizing they're probably not going to be able to be registered. If you want the registered herd, it depends on what you're wanting to do. At first, I was just meat. Now I'm realizing I want to dive into some of the genetics, become a breeder, and do things like that. And so I would go to a breeder, pick out a good herd if that's what you're wanting to do, and slowly build your herd up with the registered genetics. If you want to have meat, then get some Devon cross and have the Devon influence, because there's a lot of benefits to having the cross. That your cows could be bigger, they could, all types of different things. And I would just go to somebody that knew more and get kind of a mentorship going, because sure, you can figure it out, but it would have been a lot easier at the beginning if I would have known really what I wanted to do. And I guess it's hard to know what you want to do until you dive into it. But I would definitely, I would buy some mamas and some heifers from a reputable breeder, and then or calf cow pairs or something like that, and then kind of slowly break my way into it, or just get one good bull if you're not worried about your edges, like them being registered. Get a good bull from a good line and put it on your cows, and then you can on your commercial cows, and you can slowly work your way into it. But just yeah, it just I probably went too fast, too quick with what if you ask my wife, I definitely went too fast, too quick
Of
with
course.
these cows. Um, but we're the best way to figure it out is to be in a situation where you have to figure it out. And so yeah, I would say figure out what you want to do, what your end goal is. Are you going to sell calves? Are you going to sell meat? And then buy your cows based off of that. Because right now we have some cows that are a little on the smaller side, and then I've got a couple that are where I want all of my cows to be. And so I was talking to Jeremy about it. We've got one great cow. She is probably 1,200 pounds. She's 8 years old. Great, good looking cow. And I'm thinking about doing some embryo work with her. And so to try to get my herd to be more like that, and I could use some of my crossbred cow to put the embryos in, because I've got some great mamas, to build a bigger registered herd. Because right now I have less registered cows than I do registered cows. So
Well, let's jump into that, and then we'll circle back. I sent you the video that Dallon sent me, Steve, and I don't have it uploaded to the computer, but Laurel can put it up on the YouTube. Did you get a chance to see the cow, Steve?
I did. Yeah. Yep.
So it's interesting because we were talking about cattle adjusting to a move, and this cow that Dallon sent is out of Pit Creek Julie. Well, Pit Creek Julie was born in Texas and moved to Bobby and Sally Womack's farm, which was I want to say it was in Louisiana. They were the Crooked Tree herd.
mhm.
And then the cow came to me, and then the cow went to Kathy DeRose up in New York. She said the best cow of all the ones she had bought from me and others. And it's interesting because they say you can't move cattle north and east. You can move them south and west, but it's harder on the cattle when you move them north and east. Well, that cow has moved north and east 3 or 4 times and adjusted and performed and really done well. It's a strong pedigree on this cow. And she is a beautiful cow. I mean, as you can see, she's feminine, she's wedge shaped like we like. Dallon points out, how fat she is and the fat deposits. And honestly, that's one thing that worries me a little bit because when she turns, I can see fat in her brisket too. And
She's
cow,
lost weight. I put her on a diet. So
well, and that's good. But the problem with obesity in cattle is once they deposit fat, they can get thinner, but those fat deposits don't go away.
right.
And it's not the one in the tailhead and the brisket that worry me, but if they're there, they've also deposited fat in their udder and the reproductive tract.
Sure.
So it can negatively impact fertility and how much milk they give to their calf. The bigger concern for me is why. Why is she obese? And that could be management. They had more grass than they had cattle, and everybody's fat. They wean calves early and don't let the cows really work. And or it could be she missed a calf, lost a
Well,
calf.
so her calf got trampled by before we bought her. Got trampled, and so it was killed, and so she had not had a.
Uh-oh. Did we lose him?
So we Dallin froze there. That's okay. So he's talking about a cow that lost a calf. Well, he's back. All right.
I don't know what happened. Let me make sure I'm plugged in back here.
You're okay. I'm going to comment on what you had said. So she lost a calf, and that's probably where a lot of that condition came from. We had talked earlier about dry lotting an animal to control calf size. Well, you can certainly also dry lot animals. When people call me up and tell me that they're going to bump their herd from spring calving to fall calving or fall calving to spring calving, I get really nervous for them because if the cows get too big, it's as detrimental as letting them get too thin. And
Sure.
if you can keep the calves on them longer, great. But now how are you managing bull calves and keeping your heifers from getting bred? And it can be a real challenge. Years ago, my father donated the national champion cow to Berry College, Georgia, and D.W. Fortenberry, who was a breeder down in Texas, donated the national champion bull to Berry College for this flush program. This is back in the late 70s, early 80s, when flushing was newer than it is now. Anyway, went down to visit, and I can remember him coming home just beside himself. The college kids had babied these cattle so much that they were obese fat. Same thing happened with the Rotakawa herd that came in from New Zealand. Instead of getting cattle bred, they kept trying to flush cows and flush cows. And remember seeing it at David Rafi's one time, these 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old virgin cows. or they'd never had a calf before, little teeny teats like a heifer, and they hadn't been able to get embryos. They were trying, different methods to do it, and um, I'm always a proponent of, I'd rather see my Devons bred by the Holstein bull next door than skip a season. And
Sure.
and um, and I guess another comment I would make is if a cow loses a calf, Devons are so docile. A lot of times I'll go to the one of the dairy farms close to me, try to buy a bull calf and graft it onto the cow, and there's several methods, by which you can do that. And it's not
Mhm.
100%, but even though that calf's not going to be in my beef program, it's going to make that cow continue her natural cycle. Cow should
Sure.
have a calf, she should lactate, she should cycle back 45, 50 days later, and then repeat the process. And when you take that calf away, or you don't breed them, you mess with that. And
Right.
what's your experience with that, Steve? You want to comment on that?
Yeah, I mean, we've had that conversation, I think, a few times, and it's been fun to be along with you at different points at different shows. And you pointed it out, oh, this one must have missed because, and then you hear the same thing. Oh, no, it lost a calf last fall or last, and so yeah, I mean, I've seen it. I had a cow she would have, she was that one that was here at the Congress that she had twins 5 years in a row. And then, I mean, but she was the kind of cow that I couldn't keep weight off of her. She kept putting it on, putting it on, putting it on, and then she came open. And I think and she was open for a season and then another season, and that was it. Now she's been in freezer camp. But yeah, so I've seen that, like the weight thing, and I thought she was bred, honestly. So I should have dry lotted her and got her thin again and brought her back, but I didn't. And so yeah, I definitely have seen that. And those are things that sneak up on you. This is a conversation we should have, a whole episode of this
Sure.
dedicated to is how do we manage that and pivot from it. Can you Yeah. So yes, I've definitely seen that and I appreciate this conversation.
Because I have to also think like, if I'm going to flush this cow, am I flushing it because it looks really good because she hadn't had a calf on her? Or am
Mm.
I flushing her because of she does have a good bloodline? She has the size I want, and so that's one of the questions, that I have for y'all because y'all have the experience with it. What would you do if you're trying to get that size cow onto your property?
I have a Pit Creek cow on my farm that's 17 years old. So it's fun. I bought her from Jeremy back in 2013. Um, and so when I saw the pedigree and saw the cow, I was like, whoa, she's really nice. So I mean, there's some definite history there that's good and worth keeping and considering. But go ahead, Jeremy. You have way more experience with that than I do.
Well, and I've given presentations and talks just on this, and I always have said the three P's, right? I need pedigree, I need phenotype, and I need performance. And so this cow has the pedigree, right? She's out of an embryo flush of premier stuff on the sire side. She's out of this Pit Creek Julie that we've talked about how well she's performed in multiple environments. So pedigree, let's check that box, right? Phenotype, I would check that box too. Again, she is as you described. She's just a beautiful cow, right? And clean lines. She
Mhm.
travels well. She's wedge shaped. She's feminine. She's got tons of volume and capacity. Um, and again, we're going to know more as time goes by and she settles into your herd. But the third component of this that I want to see is performance. Like I won't flush a cow before she's 6, 7 years old. And I've seen 5 calves hit the ground and they've all, so a cow has to be free of conformational defects first, that phenotype again,
Sure.
right? And then even if the pedigree's not right, I'll take performance over pedigree any day of the week. Now, pedigree, if I'm looking at two heifers and they're dead even, I'll bet you the one with a better pedigree makes a better cow
Sure.
if we wait and see. But I'll take performance any day of the week 5 years down the road if this cow with an inferior pedigree is outperforming the other one in the same environment, right? I mean, that's key. If she's doing great up at Steve's weaning a 600-pound calf, that's a great number. But if he's weaning all 600-pound calves, you know,
Right.
she's not doing better than the contemporaries in her paddock. If you've got one that's weighing 500 pounds, but you're weaning 400-pound calves, that's more impressive to me
Sure.
because she's outperforming the other cattle in the paddock. So I would want to see that component. I want to see her daughters, what their udders and feet look like, um, before I'm considering,
Sure. And I
flushing.
do have one of her daughters on site. She's the crossbred with a Sim Angus that jumped the fence at her previous home, and she is the most docile one we have in our entire herd. She comes to us, she stands next to us. She's a great mom, great udder, great feet, all of it. And then I have one of her granddaughters as well, who is the best looking heifer that we have. And so that was all part of that thought process is we've got a great looking cow with a great weight, and we've got two of her offspring or three of her offspring with a bull calf too. So
Well, and that's performance, right? When
right,
I can see your production slash performance, right? I don't mean weight
right,
or I mean performance, right? How
sure,
good are the calves? And that is a subjective analysis that's a lot of different things. So I think you have a head start
sure,
because you do have that performance. But I want to see a calf or two on your place. I probably wouldn't flush her to the Sim Angus bull. I'd probably go
no,
back to a
definitely wouldn't.
Devon bull. Um, but no, see how she does there. And I would say her daughter and granddaughter are cow. I mean, you're going to earmark these cows are the ones I think are the best, and you're going to watch those. Steve knows this because I've done it with him. I do it with my kids. My dad always did it with me. We walk up to a pen of 5 steers that we're taking in for slaughter or we're buying. Well, Jeremy, rank them 1 through 5 and why.
Sure.
And it's not at all about being right or wrong. It's about that process. And so every year here, we go out and we all go through the bull calves and the heifer calves and we rank them and we put that away. And then we go back a year later and rank them again. And then we all sit down and pick
Compare.
at each other. You thought that bull was going to be better. Well, look
Yeah,
at it now. And they do change and none of us get them all right,
right,
um but you go through that process of, well, these are pretty even, but this one's got that stronger pedigree. This one's out of a better cow. This one's out, and your heavy milking cows, their calves look better at weaning than the light milking ones, but the light milking ones tend to adapt to grass and catch up afterwards.
right,
So, age of the cow is a factor that, and what her calf's going to look like at weaning compared to maturity. And um, I love that both you guys, do that comparative analysis with your cattle and you know teach and learn and observe. It's such a huge piece of it.
sure, sure.
I'm,
So
I'm,
go
I'm
ahead,
curious.
Steve.
Yeah, Dallon, when you walk, like Jeremy said, you're the kind of guy that he has to drag out of the pasture because you're
Sure.
looking and looking. What are you seeing? What are your eyes looking at?
That's a great question. I'm just kind of looking at their personality in a weird way, trying to figure out, okay, like I know how some of these older cows are, some of the ones that have been around for a while. you can catch on to there's something wrong with something with one cow. You'll catch they've got a limp. I need to watch that, make sure that that's not something that I need to doctor on. Um, I'm looking at who's a good mom. Some of these, we have 4 bull calves right now that were born over the past 2 months, and I'm realizing which heifers, because all 3 of them came out of heifers. I'm learning what the moms are going to do with their calves. Like I have one cow that she's going to hide that calf out, and I'm not going to find it for 3 days, and then it's going to pop out randomly, and then it's going to run back into the woods or run back into the tree line, and then I've got another one that won't leave her calf, and so what I'm thinking I'm learning is this is how these mamas are probably going to act for their life on how they're going to treat their cows, what they're going to want me to do, not want me to do, and I respect them. Now I try to get an ear tag in them, but like I'm respecting, hey, they just want to leave that alone. I'm going to leave it alone because they're hidden, way on the edge of the field or the paddock or wherever I have them in. And so just learning how these cows, because every one of them has a different personality. And it's wild to say that because 10 months ago, I would have thought somebody was crazy when they said that was, every cow has a different personality, but they really do. And some of them, it takes a little time longer to warm up. And I always have a couple alfalfa cubes in my pockets or something. You got the one that's trying to eat your pocket, and the other one that you can tell like wants to come and like try one right out of your hand. But and you just slowly working on them. So yeah, I'm monitoring, getting to know my cows more, and I think that's so beneficial for somebody that's new. Go walk around your cows. I'll learn more in my herd. Literally the last 20 minutes of the day, whenever I'm out there, I'll just go walk around with the cows while they're grazing. You'll learn more about your cows doing that than you will in any video, any YouTube channel. Like you'll learn so much about how they react. And that's something that I guess you just have to have them to be able to do it. So.
Good. That's awesome.
100%. And you and I were talking yesterday, and I can come show you how a cow should walk. But if you got 50 cows, most of them walk correctly.
Right.
In not just your herd, in everybody's herd. But if one's walking different from the rest, something's probably wrong. Something's off. Now, what is it? Why is it? How big a deal is it? That's a different question. Same thing if I'm doing a consultation at Steve's and I see a 10-year-old cow and she's got one bad quarter. I'm gonna go, well, Steve, was she born with this bad quarter, or did she get mastitis a few years ago? And because if it's genetic, I'm not keeping a son or daughter out of her.
Right.
But if it happened because her calf got ran over, she got mastitis, and the quarter went bad, and that's where you're at a big disadvantage, Dallon, because you just starting, right? And if she's got a bad quarter, am I keeping? Am I culling? Am I? And if I'm going to wait and see what her daughter's udder looks like, did that gene pass down? Well, that's a 3-year process before I can make that evaluation, and it is tough. But as you say, we had Shorty Hostetler judge our show. He's Shorty has, is it white? No, belted Galloways.
No, he's a Murray Gray.
Murray Gray. He's one of the biggest Murray Gray breeders, and just a good cow, man. And he said, take a 5-gallon bucket out in your field every day and sit on it and just be amongst your cattle and listen. And it's so true. You got to get off the 4-wheeler, out of the truck, turn the engine off, and you see and hear so much. It's like going for a walk in the woods, right? If you drive through the woods in your truck, you don't see anything, right? But you walk and you see and hear so much more. And I think the trick is you get so busy a lot of times on the farm. When people are where you are down and they're watching the YouTube videos, or going to conferences, they're reading the books, they're doing all this stuff. And then they add cows and they add cows and they add equipment and they add some chickens and they add some this and they add their beef business. And now all of a sudden they stop that education. They stop learning and observing because they don't have time for it. And you got to make the time for it. Uh,
I tell my wife all the time. She's like, "Hey, are you done out there?" I say, "Yeah, I'm done, but I got 30 minutes before I leave." So she just knows I'm walking around, just making sure everybody's good, and it's also a stress thing. I mean, if you sit around and listen to cows eat, I don't know what it does. It just lowers your blood pressure no matter what. It is it's just relaxing. So
it is. It is 100%. And I can tell you too, and this is a big Devon push here, but it's the truth. I've got crossbred herds and purebred herds and have for years, but you get a sea of ruby red cattle and
yeah,
emerald green grass, and yeah, it's just peaceful and
especially when the sun's setting right behind them, yeah, it just relaxes you.
right, right. It's just perfect. It's just perfect, um, and I love it. In fact, if I had to really paint the picture, they'd all be old school horn Devons
Yeah,
out there. I just think it's even we can't beat the way God designed it, right? And uh, the animals in their natural and closer to their original form, just beautiful, just beautiful. Um, well, tell me, Dallon, when this is a question I try to ask all of our guests, and we've had people from the north, the south, big, small, international, domestic, and you're our new guy, right? But fast forward 30, 40 years from now, Dallon Hudson's dead and gone,
yep.
and he's left a legacy there, and what is that? What do you hope that legacy is? What do you hope the other farmers in this breed in your community and in this style of farming say about Dallon? What's the legacy you hope to leave behind?
Well, I'd like to think that, like I said, I'm a big outdoorsman, that I was able to leave the land better than I found it. I've always been trying to improve the habitat for whitetail. Now I'm trying to integrate the cattle into it and still have a great farm, great whitetail hunting, great cattle. So I'm hoping that when I'm dead and gone, that my kids say, "Look at how he left this for us, and how much better of a place Bradyville, Tennessee is because of what he did." And hopefully we got a lot of Devons, a lot of red cows running around instead of black cows too. Because I do want to push this breed, because I think once people realize what these cows are capable of, they'll go away from some of their other older ways, as you'd say. So
I don't see very many people that try Devon cattle and then say, "Yeah, they just didn't work for us. Let's do something else."
sure.
And uh, the cattle seem to always hold up their end of the bargain. It's the people that fall short. And on that note, I talking to Dallon yesterday, and I hear this from so many new people, and shame on Red Devon USA breeders, but how many of the people that you called when you were looking for cattle, what percentage didn't even call you back or write an email or even respond to your?
A lot. There was some people got back to me, but sometimes it was 5 or 6 days later, and I'm busy. So like if I don't hear back from you in a couple days, I've already gone on to the next person and I'm talking to different people. And so there's, you just learn a lot about people's businesses. And then when I dive into their business a little bit more, because some of these people, they've got good businesses. It's why are you why are you pushing a 2-year old bull for semen collection? Why are you doing things like that? Because you have no idea what their offspring is going to be. And so you start realizing, like, okay, there's some reputable people out here that are doing things right. And those are the people that are, I think, where people should buy from. And I'm not going to say any names or anything, but if people want it, they can message me and I'll let them know who I would be buying cows from if they were starting out. So,
Well, in the purebred business, in the commercial business, you load your calves up, take them to market. You get paid
right.
on what that grader thinks of your cattle. In the purebred business, you live and die by your reputation.
That's right.
And um, I sell a lot of bulls to commercial cattlemen, but if I lose the other Devon breeders, if I don't have commerce within the breed, and I've seen a lot of big breeders over the years that disappeared because they burned too many bridges, they took advantage of too many people, they got a poor reputation,
Mhm.
warranted or not warranted, but it really makes it difficult. And I wish people would just communicate, right? If
Sure.
I don't have anything for sell, and I'm not going to call you back, put that on a website, right? You can word
Right.
it better than that, but if you're on the breeders list, if you're here to help us promote this breed, and return a phone call,
That's
return,
right.
just get back to people, even if it's a text. Hey,
Right.
Mr. Hudson, great to meet you. Sorry, we
Sure.
don't have anything available at this point. I'd love to have you come visit in the spring when I have a little more time, or where.
Or especially when they're running ads to sell stuff and then they don't get back to you. It's like, well, I guess they don't want to make any money. So
Well, and as you said, if somebody calls you and asks you where to go, you're probably also going to say, "Oh yeah, I called that guy. He didn't even
right,
call me back,"
right.
and it hurts your reputation, Steve. I mean, you've been doing this a long time as a breeder and as a board member too, and um, we could do better for this breed,
Sure.
if people would communicate. I think the other thing I wish people would do would be run ads and promote what they're doing. But, I talk to a lot of people that go, why would I run an ad? I sell all my beef, I sell all my heifers. I don't need to run ads. I'm not going to spend that money. Well, don't we want to make the price go higher? Don't we want to create
Right.
more breeders? Don't we want more exposure? As you said, I want to show people here these red cattle, these Devon cows, and what they can do. And um,
Yeah. And to follow up on that, if you've got cows that can be registered that are good cows, register them. Have them registered. Because I'm noticing that there's a lot of people out there that have beautiful cows, but they're 6 generations removed from the last registered one. And for me right now, that's not what I want. That's not what I need. That's not going to help the breed at all. And so I think having, because it's a pretty easy system to get them registered. Pull the hair, send it out to VGL or wherever, and Red Devon USA will pretty much take care of the rest. And so I suggest just go ahead and register them, and I'll pay more for a registered cow. I know you will too, if it comes from the right genetics. So
well, and as you say, there's certain people that's a deal breaker right there.
right.
Um,
I was texting the guy
but
last night. Yeah, I said I don't want them just because they're not registered. So yeah,
and at the same time, there's a lot of people out there that don't care about a registration,
sure,
and they just want the Devon genetics in there. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it does close doors.
sure,
And that traceable pedigree is a valuable thing, more valuable to some than others.
that's right.
Steve, where are you at on what we've been saying? I mean, I mean, I know you concur, you've seen the same things we have, but how do we fix that?
Yeah, those are great questions. I mean, you guys fire good questions, and I don't know that I have great answers. I have experience on both sides of it, right? I know that I've missed phone calls and opportunities that I even just to connect with people, or because stage of life or things going on that you're like, shoot, or keeping up with registrations is I mean, it's a discipline, and that's a good thing. I mean, we should all be moving in that direction. I would definitely say, uh, that you're right, Dallon. Becky provides a great service, and it's easy to pull tail hairs, put them in envelopes, put names on envelopes, and send them to her, and she can take care of it. I mean, especially with the new genetic testing, like it's simple. We don't have to keep trying to go find out which sire belongs to which calf, and it's getting better and better. So I mean, I think the process is getting easier for that to happen for sure. um but it's still the follow through. And you're right, Jeremy. A while ago in this conversation, you talked about, oh, we add these chickens, and we add these pigs, and we add all these dynamics and things we're trying to do. Farming's not easy, like we're still trying to make a living out of this, and so where the dollars come. For me personally, I kind of go, yeah, I need to sell this animal, but if I sell it, that has ramifications next year, the year after. I don't get those. Like, so, I mean, the beautiful thing about a network of people connected to one another is we can coach one another through that. And so that's important to do too. Like, how do we help each other make decisions? And so this is the beauty. I'm thankful for the Devon community that I've been able to bounce those questions off of. I want to call, like I talked about being ruthless in culling, but doing that changes the bottom line maybe this year and next year, and it adds money here, but now I don't have calves out of that animal. So how do we do that? Or so yeah, I mean, to me, it's not a vacuum. Like, yes, we should all return our texts and our phone calls, and I
Sure.
know I drop them, I do, and I know that I've been dropped. I've called and that hasn't happened. Um, but at the same time, like let's keep pushing forward here and try to get better at communicating um, and making available. I mean, the ad thing is a really good one. Like I want everybody to know what's going on. But right now in my life and the farm that I'm working with and the other farm I'm working with, things are changing so fast. I'm like, if I put an ad out now, it's going to change tomorrow, and heck, the name might be different. Like so just there's it's like everything in agriculture. Again, it gets back to it. We're in relationship, and so we have to
Mhm.
just stand where we are and be truthful about that. Confess and say, I'm sorry, I screwed that up. And also, hey, I need some help. Like, help me figure this one out, and lean on one another for that. And there's great resources. So yeah, sorry I rambled a little bit. It's a little bit of a soapbox, but we
No, I mean, you're right. And I mean, I've missed calls. I'll probably get a couple emails after we put this out going, you SOB, you didn't return my call in 2023. Um, and you know what? Nobody gets into this because they're good at paperwork, right? Or
Right.
they
Yeah.
enjoy doing their computer work. We all get in this because we want to get away from the desk and outside and with the cows and in the field. But if you want to sell grass-fed beef, you better have a website. You better take
Mhm.
some pictures. You better do some promotion. You better go sell your beef. And if you want to sell registered cattle, it's a whole different, but you better have a website. You better register your cattle. You better, do all these things and don't let your expectation, meet what you put in, what you're willing to put in, right? If Steve's running a website and ads and promoting and going to events and I'm going, why is he getting more money than I am for these animals? You know, it's not hard to figure that out. But
Right.
um, yeah, my comment was more, I mean, you're right, Steve. My comment's more is just that I feel like we have this reputation in the that half our people just
That's right.
ever
We hear
don't
that a
ever
lot.
answer. And um man, I'm glad those people are members. I'm glad they got Devon cattle, and they must not need to sell cows to Dallon because they're clearly not
Right.
pushing that hard. But let's all think about the breed. What's best for the breed? What's the message we put out as an organization? And Steve, you and I are talking about it a lot now as at the board level, right? We're going to have our national conference and meeting at Southwest Project Grass in October. And, you want to win the show, and I want to win the show. And you know, we all want these great things to happen. But the real goal here is that brand new people come in and go, man,
I
these are
want to be part of
wonderful
this.
cattle. Wow, these are good people. Wow, this is something I want to be a part of, right?
I think there's an opportunity. I'm 34 years old, and I think there's an opportunity for my generation of people that are going back to the farm, where my grandfather would roll over in his grave because they worked so hard to get off of the farm. And there's so many people going back to the family farm or doing the homestead life that if they found out about how easy these cows are, everybody would do it, because they're not trying to build a herd of 1,000 cows. They're trying to build a herd of 10. And I think it takes a lot of tens instead of a couple of thousands to make this herd really, this breed really take off. So
I would tell you the where I've spent most of my time presenting and speaking is there's a lady from England named Isabella Tree did a book called Rewilding, and this is the second book. But basically, she had this farm in England. They did everything that ag told them to do, and the governments told them to do, and the universities told them to do. And over 30, 40 years, they lost money, they lost money, they lost money. So they just let the farm go. And then they reintroduced some cattle and some wild hogs and some different deer and some different things, and just hands off of everything for the most part and let it go back to nature. And all these incredible things have happened. Species of birds they thought were extinct showed up, and plants and wildlife. And it's just become this incredible roller coaster. And so she's come to the States, and there's all these rich landowners that want to rewild their property. They want to do what she's done. But then you say livestock, and they go, "Whoa, what
yeah,
do we do? What do we do when those cows get out, right? Who's going to work those? Who's going to manage these cattle, right? That they're just terrified at the idea, and they probably, like you had mentioned earlier, Dallon, they've seen wild commercial cattle here. They've seen, they're used to rodeos and flighty cattle. So of course, they bring me in to show, man, we can manage 300 head with a string,
right.
and a solar charger, right? And
Right.
and and it takes very little infrastructure. Yeah, it takes somebody who knows what they're doing, to manage and move the cattle, but uh, it's not the infrastructure you think you need, and it's not the problem if your cattle are socialized like we've been discussing.
Sure.
Um, and so you're right. And these folks aren't your age. These folks are mostly older than me. They're wealthy landowners, but they're brand new the way that you are, right? And
Right.
trying to figure it out. And as you say, so many people you show these cattle to are going, wait a minute, this is not what I've seen anywhere else. And
Right. Right.
and that's a critical piece of it, and that's why I put so much time into it. I don't even charge them. What I'm interested in is the landowners that buy into it and see what we're saying and go, well, where do I get cows like that?
Right.
Okay, well, let's have another conversation,
Sure.
right? And um, Devons aren't the only cows that check that box, but I don't know any breed of cow that does it any better.
Right.
That's for sure. When you add the quality beef component, the longevity, all these other things. So,
Sure.
um, well, Dallon, you got anything else for us? Any questions you'd like to fire back at us?
Man. Um, we hit about all of it, but I think this is the most Steve's talked in any of these podcasts yet. So I'm glad I got it out of him a little bit. But
That's funny.
but no, I think y'all have answered some of the questions, for me getting started. If you were, for like a final question, if you were 12 months in, what would both of y'all do? What would be the one thing that y'all would tell somebody 12 months in? It doesn't have to be an action, or just what would you say to me for being 12 months in? Do you have any comments?
I know my comment would be patience.
Yep.
Um, your um, your wife's not wrong,
Right.
right? And that doesn't mean you've made bad purchases or you've gone too fast, like you've made a mistake. But it takes longer than you think to know what you. And we've talked about all this,
Right.
right? But it is going to take longer than you think to really know what you have, and for the cattle to perform for you in a new environment. And so just do what you're doing. Keep observing and and keep keep going to other people's farms and visiting and don't fall into that trap of getting too busy where you stop observing your
Sure.
cows and learning. Um and I think that's, that's, there's so much to learn about. You're not only learning cattle now, but you're learning grasses and soils, and you're learning
Oh yeah.
how Mirafont water systems. Like I never thought I could be a frost-proof water repairman, but
You learn quick.
I could do it with my eyes closed now, right? And you have to learn, in farming, you got to be a bit of a mechanic, a plumber, an electrician, a veterinarian, because you're going to go broke if you got to call somebody each time you need one of those things.
Right.
Um, and at the same time, you've got to know when you're working on that tractor and you get to the turbocharger and you have no idea what you're doing to say, stop,
That's
right?
right.
Call somebody knows what they're doing. And yeah, there's just so much to figure out. That be patient and keep doing what you're doing.
And to second on, yeah, the patience thing, I've learned how, my grandfather died in the 90s. My great grandfather way before that. They're the ones that set this farm up for cattle. Now I've moved some stuff around, but I'm starting to understand why they did everything. When I just walk around, I'm like, okay, all of this is making sense. So I'm rehabbing those ways of why they did put this here and why they did this, and it all makes sense to me now. So
Well, that's just it. We actually have a field right across from our cattle barn. If I try to bring the cows up the hill through the gate to the cattle barn, they will fight me every
mhm.
step of the way. If I try to call them, they'll follow me till they see it and they'll go, no dice, buddy.
Right.
But if I go down the road, quarter mile, let them out the gate in the bottom corner of the field, they'll walk up the road just as easy as
Mhm.
pie. They go twice as far, but it's how they want to go. It's how they're comfortable doing it. It's how they're naturally doing it. So, I'm not going to force it. Um, that's one of the other pitfalls of getting busy. We have to work these cows today. Go get the four wheelers. We're pushing them
Right.
up no matter what. No, you got to be able to go, you know what? We tried to get them up. They weren't having it today. Let's go work on project B and
That's right.
circle back. And
Sure.
and um, you see people chasing a cow around in a field for an hour, and you go, "Who's the stupid animal
Yeah.
in this scenario?" Right? And we had a neighbor move out years ago, and the lady said, "Get all cows up and haul them out." They got them all up and out except about two or three animals. We sat in the field and watched them 2 or 3 afternoons, just half a dozen guys on four wheelers chasing these animals. They're frothing at the mouth, jumping through fences. And it's like, what are you doing? Right?
Right.
Just bring five calm ones back, leave them there for a week, let them
Right.
all get back together, and you walk them on the trailer. Like,
Right.
again, who's the stupid
Yeah.
animal? But, uh, um, Steve, what's your advice for Dallon 10, 12 months into it?
So, a couple things. I think I would boil it down to three things. First of all, one of the best investments that I was given the opportunity to do, and then I did it again, was go to ranching for profit.
Right.
For me, the eyes that I was given through that school were is priceless. Like, I mean, 10x my business, profitability, flourishing, lifestyle, everything. Jeremy's done it. I've done it. There's quite a few of us that have, and I think it's a great investment.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Like without a doubt. Or find people that can mentor you in the same ways, right? And that's good. The second one is Bud Chonko says and said to me from a long time ago, consult the cow. Like have the posture that she'll teach you what she needs and figure out what she needs. Like just it's a sit on the bucket thing. And it's just a different way of approaching that. And then the third thing is every year's a lap around the track. We can't speed that up. You
Right.
know, this spring we is one of the wettest we've had. We just pulled almost 9 bales to the acre off of a hayfield yesterday.
Wow.
Like that's unreal. Last year, I think we might have had 6 bales to the acre.
Right.
Like that, and now that doesn't necessarily more doesn't necessarily mean better. Like, is that better hay or is that less? You know, like,
Right.
and but that's different. And so I was talking with my wife this morning. Last year we had chicory everywhere in our fields, but like that may not be the case this year. So the tap roots. So the point is every year's different and it teaches us something new and the way the Lord created it to work, it's not going to be replicable,
Right.
right? That's why agriculture is all about relationship. So we enter that relationship just like a marriage and it teaches us as much as we lean into it. And we meet somewhere in that process and figure it out. So,
Sure.
um, 12 months in, you're getting a good start. I would definitely say that. And I think that's awesome. And I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to seeing your vision come to fruit in Tennessee and all the way around.
Sure.
So yeah, absolutely.
I
When
appreciate
we
it.
have the national conference at your place in 5 or 10 years, you'll take me and Steve into
Hey,
Nashville,
I got to
and
get some plumbing out there for some bathrooms and whatnot, but hey, maybe we'll get there.
well, especially if Steve's coming, you'll need that for sure.
So,
Uh,
Hey, that's one more thing is I would say make the trips.
yeah,
Go to the events like the one in Pennsylvania this year. Go to the Upper Midwest Devon Exchange. That's a great event every year. Like there's just I mean opportunities to mix and mingle with people doing Devon cattle is priceless, and we learn
sure,
tons.
sure.
100%. I would also mention 25 years ago, I went to a place called the Graham School, and I
Hmm.
was talking to Church Humphreys, who's a Thistle Hill farm breeder who's in vet school at Cornell. He went to Graham School just a few years back, but it's preg check, it's AI, it's they show you how to take a lasso around a cow and lay her on the ground where you can treat her by pinching knots on certain nerves in their back and just it's not for a brand new person. You need to
Sure,
have been farming for 12 months or 24 months
sure.
to really get everything out of it and appreciate it. But it was money well spent, and I've sent a few employees and kids out to do it um, as well years past. But we'll put a link at the end of this, obviously, to all the normal stuff and to
Yeah.
Dallon's, website, and we'll put a ranching for profit and Graham School stuff up there too. Um, um, so yeah, I mean that continuing education is a wonderful thing, and you get little pieces everywhere. You hopefully get little pieces everywhere you go that help you do better at what you're doing. And I would uh, I would end with Dallon's words. I think we all feel the same way. We just want to leave the herd better than we got it,
Yep.
and the soil richer and more fertile than we found it, and the entire environment around us. Sorry, my office PA is going crazy in there, but hopefully it's not too distracting. But anybody else, anything else to wrap up before we
Yeah.
we call it? Well, Dallin, thank you
Thank you
so
Great
all.
much,
conversation.
Thank
and
you all for
welcome to
answering
the
questions.
Devon breed. I would tell you right now it's a magical time because we're an organization made up of people like you, me, and Steve that we have cattle, but we have to be profitable with these cattle. We have to be success. They're not just lawn ornaments. They're not here for because it's a heritage rare breed. They're not just here because we're doing a tax write-off on the land. We're making money with these cattle, and we're we're making our cattle perform. And it's not just us. It's our board of directors is made up of folks like this, and our membership is made up of folks like this. We just had the World Devon Congress, and our international guests were just blown away at who our breeders are, what age they are. You know, the average age of farmers in this country, and it's the same with Devon breeders around the world, is like 70 years old.
Right.
You know, and to have young, hungry, our president, AJ O'Neill's like butcher, breeder, coaching 10 different kids sports and doing 100 different things, and just what, you know, honestly, what worries me with AJ, with Steve, with you, with Jamie Hamilton, a guy we just is I put too much on my plate for years, and each thing I put on my plate took away from everything else I was doing, and it became a little tougher to manage. And um, but it's hard not to love and respect the enthusiasm. I think we froze Dallon up again, but we got a great
Yes,
view
we
of
did.
him right there. You froze for a minute with this huge smile on your face,
I
Dallon.
did. I was like, I
That
don't know if it
was,
was my internet. My office is starting to wake up, so people are getting on the internet. So,
well,
um,
good timing. Good timing. Thank you again. God bless you guys and your
thank
cattle.
y'all.
And Dallon, hope to talk to you again soon, brother.
Have a good one. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Steve.
Thanks, Jeremy.